be one of the first to congratulate Councilmember Williams on being the vice mayor. And I know that she's taken on a tremendous task to help solve blight in our city, but also joined with the state to try to solve the two areas that actually have serious blight, which is up in the Kansas City area and here. And I know I've worked with you, Levanta, to try to help craft legislation that would be acceptable, and I'm disappointed that it's been cast that we're going to be very aggressive in taking people's property, and I just want to be on record, I'm sure you are, as you are, that the city has no intent to do some accelerated taking of people's property and property rights. This thing is, the law today currently has flaws in it, and it allows misuse of blighted property, which you're well aware of, and all we're trying to do is help resolve deterioration not of a piece of property, but the impact of the whole neighborhood. And I'll stand with you to try to, the governor mentioned that he hoped that there could be adjustments to make it right, and I hope that the state legislature and the governor recognizes this problem that in this loophole that allows people to totally abuse the rights of to keep blighted property in place. So sorry to use this a little bit of a pulpit here, but I recognize all your efforts. You've checked other cities, major cities. You send us information on all the options. It's very good, and I applaud your efforts, and so and wish you luck, and you'll serve good as a vice mayor.
Thank you so much. I think it's just a challenge for us as we continue to move forward, but I do want to work with the legislation to see what it is we need to change, what we need to be aware of. It is something that is going on around the country, and we have to have something in place that's going to work, and right now it's not working, so I appreciate that. As well as I appreciated the pastor mentioning the opioid and heroin issue. Just spent one day in Washington, D.C. looking at that very fact, and you'll be hearing about that more as we begin to be proactive about that here in Wichita as opposed to being reactive. But I welcome the challenge of sitting in the vice mayor position, but I also want to make sure that I thank Vice Mayor presently, James Glendon, for all of the work that you have done this past year. Thank you so much.
And we'll have a formal swearing in and an opportunity to make comments next week at that point in time. So, and Councilmember Meissner, I'm glad you brought that up, because maybe next time that we're dealing with one of those cases of blight that we often deal with that gets kicked around because of circumstance and change of hands and kind of people manipulating the system. When we get into our third or fourth year of dealing with blighted property that's impacting property owners' rights on both sides of that blighted property, maybe that's when we'll ask some of these folks that spoke against our bill to step up and ask them what they would do for the property owners that are impacted by the blighted property, which is unfortunate that this thing has gotten politicized. But
Mayor, if I could add one thing on
Sure.
to that. Recently, we talked about some of our public housing, and I went out to look at one of our areas that is vacant right now, and according to that neighborhood and according to that community, with the blight the way it is, they would not live there. So that's how it affects our Wichita community.
Absolutely. All right, next week we will have the swearing in